morning, everyone. We are finally going to get started for today's webinar. So my name is Camilla Lozinska Brown, and I am incredibly proud to present to you envoPAP's first ever webinar, through which our CEO, Kaushal Shah, will be exploring how agricultural waste is disrupting the packaging industry. So on behalf of the team at envoPAP, I would like to thank you for joining this event. We have been incredibly excited about this. Kaushal Shah founded envoPAP in 2015 while completing his postgraduate studies at the University of Southampton. Having grown up in India, he has witnessed firsthand the burning of agricultural waste, which is an image that has stayed with him ever since. He has nurtured an incredibly passionate and driven team here at envoPAP, with the goal of providing a packaging solution that does not harm the planet. For Kaushal's presentation today, he will be covering the following agenda: to give us a comprehensive understanding of the potential applications and impacts of agricultural waste. So without further ado, I'm excited to hand over to Kaushal.
Thank you so very much, Camilla. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us from across the world for our first ever webinar, How Agricultural Waste is Disrupting and Innovating in the Packaging Sector. Agro-waste is something which we as a business and me myself are extremely passionate about. And we know the future is agro-waste, and it can solve a lot of things in our fight towards the planet's plastic crisis. So let's dive deep into the problem itself. Today, every single day, we are cutting close to about 1.5 acres of forest every single day. And on the plastic side, we as humans are producing 380 million tons of plastic being produced every single year. Now, the surprising part here is that only 9% of this plastic is being recycled, and the balance 12% is being incinerated. The 79% which is left over is accumulated in the landfill. At the same time, we are cutting down forest at about 129,000 acres every day, which is being lost due to deforestation. And deforestation accounts for close to 20% of the greenhouse gas emissions. That's an equivalent of 100,000 football fields, just to put a number into something which we can relate to. Moving on, there is Tom Crowther, one of the senior researchers at the ETH Zurich. He said, if we act now, this could cut carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by up to 25%. To levels last seen almost a century ago. There is enough suitable land to increase the world's forest cover by 1/3 without affecting the current existing cities and the agricultural fields we have. Their study, which clearly showcases that forest reforestation is the best climate change solution available today and will be for the next coming future. The paper and packaging space has been taking enormous efforts to reduce and diminish the impacts of deforestation, which is great news. And we, as being in the part of the same sector, we applaud these efforts through certifications such as FSC, the EU Eco-label, PEFC. But we need to also take into account that the need for fully mature trees can only efficiently capture carbon to reduce the adverse effects of deforestation. It highlights that in the long run, these are unsustainable. A fully mature tree can absolutely absorb close to about 21 kilograms of carbon every single year, only when the tree is fully mature. So now we know that how long we need to keep building on our reforestation efforts. We've looked at plastic in a very theoretical manner. At this time, 250 million tons of plastic waste is released into the environment every single year. And today, 59% of EU's plastic waste is generated from packaging alone. That's through our e-commerce, through every single product we use, the packaging which is through plastic packaging. 40% of this world's single-use or short-use plastic waste ends up in the landfill, corresponding to about 9 million tons of plastic packaging waste, which is accumulated in soil. Problem 2, emissions of plastic production and incineration could account to close to about 56 gigatons of carbon from now until 2050. And at the same time, poor air quality as a result of these emissions account for approximately 400,000 premature deaths per year worldwide. This also costs to our society, and researchers have estimated that it costs close to about 58 billion euros. Problem number 3, 10% of the plastic which is produced is getting recycled, but only 30% of the plastic which is being produced has a recyclability rate. Some of them are not even recyclable at all, even in 2021. These result in particles that are seeping into living organisms, such as fish, and then consumed by us through the food chain. BPA and some phthalates are endocrine disruptors, meaning they can mimic the body's natural hormones and thereby cause a raft of health problems. And at the same time, there is a growing scientific evidence that even though at these lower levels of exposure, BPA may be causing problems such as infertility, obesity, breast cancer, prostate cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. Overall, we feel plastic is causing not just environmental harm, but also social disharmony. And it is time for us to act right now in making the right choices for a sustainable and a greener future. Now let's look at agrofibers. More than 3,000 million tons of agro-waste is produced worldwide. And at the same time, where we are in London and Europe alone, produces 700 million tons of agri-waste every single year. Most of this agricultural waste is undertreated and underutilized, and therefore it is disposed of either by burning, dumping, or unplanned landfilling. At the same time, this also causes increase in the number of greenhouse gases. The 4 most cultivated crops in the world right now are rice, grain, corn, and sugarcane. I come from India. India is one of the largest, second largest now in the world for production of sugarcane. It produces close to about 33 million tons in 2018 to 2019. At this moment of time, the total weight across the world is 16.5 billion tons per year. If we look at simple maths, 80% of this waste can be regarded as agricultural waste and becomes available annually. So 13 million tons of agro waste is available annually. Now, coming from the sector, we know that agro waste gives us a yield of 40 to 45% to make our finished materials such as print and packaging paper, which can help in solving the Europe's production capacities alone and can match all the mills considering across European region to match the production capacities just by utilizing agro waste. In Europe, all people and companies together use close to about 77.4 million tons of paper and cardboard every single year. These paper and cardboards are usually made from cutting down of trees, of virgin wood fibers, recycled fibers, and then a mix of virgin and recycled fibers as well. To transport this 77.4 million tons of paper and paperboard, we require 5 million trucks, which are required to transport this volume. And to make this capacities for the European industry, we only need 1.8% of the worldwide available agri-waste at this moment of time. Efforts have been taken by the government, and at the same time, new rules have come into force on the January the 1st under the amendment of the Basel Convention, which aims to make the export of plastic to poorer countries more transparent and efficient. The objective of the Basel Convention was to allow developing countries such as Malaysia, Vietnam, to refuse low quality and plastic which is difficult to recycle before it's being shipped out. As otherwise, this waste is usually illegally burned or then dumped into the landfill or waterways. At the same time, the UK, which has been at the forefront of plastic packaging tax, is looking to apply plastic packaging produced in the UK or imported from outside into the UK that does not contain at least 30% recycled plastic. These efforts by such governments will go in a long way to making sure producers and companies and people are thinking and making sure that they're taking the right steps. And at the same time, new economic incentives for businesses by the governments to use recycled material in their production of plastic packaging. The UK and the EU have also been focusing on providing grant for innovation companies, and at the moment, which encourages material innovations that would enable companies on the market to move away from the reliance of plastic and paper packaging as well. The ISAF, which is the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund, has an ambitious smart sustainable plastic packaging grant, which is available for UK registered businesses, which can apply for a share of up to £16 million for bold and ambitious demonstrator projects in smart and sustainable plastic packaging. This funding is part of the Industrial Challenge Fund. And at the same time, there's another grant which is being made available for UK businesses for a competition to win funding for early stage human created design projects to reduce plastics harm to the environment, but at the same time, increase the productivity and grow the UK economy as a whole. Now let's look at agricultural waste and the other materials which are available in the market. We see that there is a huge pool of efforts being put up into using corn or corn starch or sugarcane starch for the production of food service disposables and tableware products, which is great. And at the same time, food packaging solutions have also been coming up using areca palm leaves in the Southeast Asian region. Bowls and plates are currently being trialed and being utilized by a couple of sectors, which are made reusing potato industry residues, such as the potato peel or wash waters and beer waste as well. We've also seen in European region right now, seaweed and cornstarch is being utilized for making sachets, liners, cups, bottles. These materials have the capabilities of carrying the liquids, which are products which we all use on a daily, regular basis. And one of the most favorite products which we have been seeing a huge demand right now during the pandemic, toilet paper, can now also be made using bamboo, and they're also making kitchen towels as well. At the same time, aside from the agricultural waste solutions in the market, there are also other alternatives to wood fiber paper and recycled fiber paper. Sources of tree-free paper include stone. Stone paper has been quite an interesting and an interactive product for the print and publishing industry. Grass paper has come into the market where they're making with a mixture of grass materials and wood fiber together to create packaging solutions. Fiber crops and wild plants such as kenaf, hemp, jute, flax can also be used for the production of paper and paper and packaging boards. And last but not the least, textile and cordage waste can also be utilized for the same. There are also non-fiber based solutions which are coming into the market, and we as consumers, businesses, and governments need to give a huge push for such solutions. Calcium carbonate bound by a high density, non-toxic polyresin can also be used for packaging needs. Let's talk about COVID and the e-commerce industry. We all know that COVID has redefined sustainability and the sustainable packaging space as a whole as well. With the closure of restaurants and bars, there has been an increase in takeaway, which required further packaging. I'm a victim of this. I love ordering food and my products online, but at the same time, I'm very sad by the amount of packaging which is being used, unwanted packaging. And because of COVID, consumers have thus continued to move to grocery purchase of food, beverages, and home care necessities. Yes, but at the same time, McKinsey has developed a report which is called Beyond COVID-19, the next new normal for packaging. For the industry and companies to move to the next new normal must rethink packaging design beyond the must-haves which the plastic industry offers or the plastic materials offer, but they have to be matched with reasonable cost, convenience, and performance. Three major requirements we can take away from this report, which needs to be addressed. The first, design with a good sustainable narrative. At the same time, design with hygiene in mind, with the heightened consumer safety concerns, and looking at design for e-commerce, where we need to start focusing on ship-ready design, direct-to-consumer models, which have to be taken into consideration. This has greatly been impacted by the global lockdowns and the closure of the public sectors, which turned to takeaway and delivery services to try to stay afloat. The e-commerce penetration accelerated by 10 years in 90 days in the first quarter of 2020. This is an extremely important figure. The e-commerce penetration has accelerated by 10 years in 90 days in the first quarter of 2020. Thank you so much, everybody. We are open to your questions and we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaushal, for that lovely presentation. So we have a bunch of questions that have come through and that are incredibly interesting. And the first one is, what is your evaluation for the future of your products in international markets?
Thank you. Interesting question. So for our products, we make print and packaging materials, and our main applications consist of e-commerce packaging, product-based packaging, and direct food packaging applications. As we know, there's a growing concern across the world for sustainable packaging, but at the same time, not just consumers, but also companies and governments have been pushing for it. Very interesting example. Last year, I was in Rwanda, and the day I arrived in Kigali International Airport, my bag was checked for plastic in my bag and not for the duty-free products which I got. So for our future of our products, we see that there's a growing concern across the world, and people are now looking to really put value to the products we create. And with the pandemic, we've seen a huge push for the e-commerce packaging products as well. And the drive for sustainable packaging and sustainability as a whole, we as humans are also taking the right steps in being more sustainable as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that answer. So another question has been pushed through, which is durability and reusability, excuse me, in comparison to traditional material, and whether it can be recycled together with traditional used packaging materials.
So this is for our agri-waste materials?
Yes, compared to traditional materials.
Okay. So we've looked at our products in terms of sustainability. Our materials are recyclable in the regular paper and paperboard streams. They are biodegradable, and at the same time, they are compostable as well. Many of our products are actually compostable at home, which can be shred into pieces and put into a compost bin. In terms of durability, we understand plastic is a material which offers durability, ease of use, and at the same time, certain barrier strength properties. But with the current innovation in the open world, with a lot of chemical companies looking to work with paper manufacturers and alternative paper material based manufacturers, we have been able to achieve not just end of life, but also making sure that we have been able to achieve water resistance, grease resistance, high MVTR, moisture vapor transfer rate properties, and high oxygen, OTR, oxygen transmission rate properties as well. At the same time, now, making sure that if we look at the durability of it in terms of in produced packaging or e-commerce packaging, where packages are being sent from certain location to the another, and if a return has to be processed, it comes back. The durability is only when the strength of the material is mixed with another material itself, making sure that the GSM or the weight of the product is on par with the product application being utilized. Thanks, Kamala.
Perfect. Another question is about the mechanical properties and paper color of our agro-based paper products.
Okay. So in agro-waste products, we have about, I think we have about 3 segments where at envoPAP, we have the writing printing materials, which are made with a mix of sugarcane and wheat waste, and they offer good brightness and whiteness properties, which can be used for printing in our A4 printers, but at the same time into commercial printers as well. And when it comes to color, the actual brightness of agro waste or bagasse, which we call it, is about 40 to 45. So when we do bleach it using environmental bleaching techniques such as TCF or ECF, we've been able to achieve close to about 88 to 92% brightness on these materials. When you look at the craft products, there are certain materials in our segment as well, where we've been able to achieve high burst factors close to about 30 to 35 with a good breaking length. Which helps in making sure that when these products are being replaced with plastic materials, they've been able to achieve efficiency on the packaging machines itself. And nowadays we feel it, and we are hearing quite a lot actually from a lot of our consumers. Brown is the new black, and white has great printability as well. So a lot of consumers we're seeing are moving to brown-based applications as well.
No, I absolutely love that saying brown is the new black. I think it's a great encouragement for the whole world to move towards more environmentally friendly materials. There's another question that's come through, which I personally love, and it's the person would like to know how to become a green entrepreneur, and what are your what's your advice on that, from your personal experience?
That's an interesting question. So Green entrepreneurship is, I would feel, it's solving something which we all need to work on. Bill Gates wrote a book, How to Solve a Climate Disaster. I think we can all start with understanding what are the main key issues and how can we, with our experience in our sector, background, or the culture we're living in, but we can do as a business or as a social entrepreneurship in solving the bigger issues. So the most important is believing in what you do. So if you do have your 100% passion for what you feel that you can solve, I think keep going. Sustainability is a growing concern, and the sector is not just evolving in itself, but other industries are also looking at it. So products which have a green conscious in mind are going to go in a long way. And making sure that we as a business also act core to the business is making sure that we are sustainable as a business, but also inspiring people and empowering them to make the right choices. It is going to be a hard journey, difficult journey, because people will take time to find the value in your solution, product, or service. But if you keep doing and keep having the same grit, I think green entrepreneurship is the right entrepreneurship to go forward.
No, definitely. I completely agree with you, and it is definitely the future. So another attendee has asked that they've seen the gas being transformed into disposable coffee lids that replace the plastic ones, as well as, as agricultural waste being turned into tableware. And so they were asking, does envoPAP have the same technology to make those transformations into either coffee lids or tableware?
Got it. So bagasse is a material which we are very fond of, firstly, and any innovation with using bagasse is something which we completely need to applaud. It's a magic material for us, and I think it has capability to do multiple products, all the way from the tableware to many other products in our regular product usage. Now at envoPAP, what we do is we utilize the fibers which are pressed and dried. For the tableware products, these are pulp injection products, which take the pulp as a whole. We utilize the pulp, which is then pressed and dried into making materials into sheets and reels. And that's the difference. And we are taking small steps to make sure that we target the market cap, and we focus on the print sector, we focus on the e-commerce packaging and the direct food packaging sector at envoPAP.
Perfect, thank you. And then we have a final question, which is, with the plastic industry starting to offer green alternatives based on biopolymers made from sugarcane, how do you see in the medium to long term the future of this crop in terms of availability and management around the world?
Yes, of course, we are seeing a huge amount of plastic industry offering a bioplastic, which is made from the starch of corn and also sugarcane as well. These biopolymers do take a much longer time than paper and packaging board for biodegradability and at the same time compostability as well. If we look at the production capacities across the world currently produces a huge amount of agro-waste and sugarcane as well, which is much more than enough to convert a huge amount of our current plastic, single-use plastic issues. The produce is well available in abundance, which is currently being burnt or then dumped. And at the same time, there's huge scale available because of the abundant production across the world. And there's still a lot of it going into the landfill or a lot of it going into burning. And we can see that with the fumes or the air pollution issues we get to see in India in the later end of the year. We see the Delhi and northern parts of India getting choked up with the wheat burning. So there's huge amount of agricultural waste available, and which can help in making sure that the balance is kept right.
Thank you for your answer. And then we've got one based on how do we feel as a B Corp company?
Very proud. We just have it right here. I think we feel very proud to be a certified B Corporation, not just because we are a purpose-driven business, but we want to show the world that yes, we want to create a world where we believe we are trying to work on a specific climate or an environmental issue, but as a business for profit, making sure that we're making money for investors, stakeholders, and at the same time having a big purpose in mind. Ethical and transparency go a long way in making sure the long-term sustainability of a business as well.
Thank you. No, I think it's incredible of our B Corp certification, just because as you were saying, bringing that to the forefront is so important. So another attendee asked, it's a bit of a long question, so I'll say it in two parts. So their first question was, what was the uptake in using the sustainable packaging and innovating by the UK supermarkets? And B, is it still seen as cost prohibitive? And then finally, what would the UK government do to push the innovation and adoption further?
So I think I'll really like to add over here. For our materials, we did a life cycle analysis, and our life cycle analysis compared it to the largest wood fiber and recycled fiber companies across the European region, and it proves that our print and packaging materials have 38 and 28% less carbon emissions compared to the current European manufacturers, respectively. So consumers across here in the UK supermarkets are growing concerns, not just driven by the consumers, direct consumers, but at the same time, companies and FMCG markets have been rethinking how they can move in the right direction if steps taken today can help in the long-term sustainability of it. It is a cost-efficient solution, even though the products come in all the way from India to the UK for utilization into multiple product packaging itself. And to answer your second question, the UK governments to push the innovation and adoption further. I think it's a mindset change. It's all about habits. So the habit starts from consumers, then driven by governments through policy and companies with implementation of it. So if we have the right mindset to promote innovation, to accept new materials into the market, making sure that they achieve the same efficiency and performance level, I think we, with the government's push for innovation, the adoption can go way much further as well.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got one last question, and it's in relation to pricing of the materials. So the attendee was asking, if the plastic industry begins to take up sugarcane, will this drive up our prices?
At this moment, there is abundance of quantity of sugarcane waste. And as a business, we have not just focused on sugarcane. We also use the waste of wheat, the waste of rice and sarkanda. These 4 crops, the waste is currently being utilized and deployed into our current production capacities. Yes, the plastic industry has been eyeing, but they have been predominantly focusing on sugarcane, not just sugarcane, but also corn starch as well, for making these bioplastic products. And in the future, we don't see a foreseeable changing in pricing because the waste is being contracted to mills and companies around a specific radius where they're located, these contracts go a long way as well.
Perfect. Thank you for your further elaboration on that question. That was the last question we received today for the question and answer session. So I would just like to thank you for your time to explore this topic of how agricultural waste is disrupting the current packaging industry. I think myself and everyone on this call has found this incredibly interesting and useful. I think there is, in general, in terms of the sustainable sectors and innovations, there is a lack of knowledge and information out there that's widely promoted. So thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure as well. Thank you, Camilla, for hosting. And we look forward to our next webinar where we will be talking something interesting again, and we hope you can join us again. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining from across the world. We can see. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.